Ladies and gentlemen, I want to play for you guys some 3 clips here. And I want you guys to pay close attention in those clips because they're going to form the basis of our analysis. First of all, let us listen in to Edwin Sifuna and tell me why Edwin Sifuna believes that they must defeat Ruto by over 3 million votes.
I think there is a general acceptance, if you speak to ordinary Kenyans, is that we need an overwhelming repudiation of William Ruto and everything that he stands for. You know? It has to be overwhelming. We must beat William Ruto by at least 5 million votes. Just Kenyans to demonstrate we reject this sort of thing. So that it is a lesson and a precedent for the entire country that if you ever build a government that does not listen to the people, we will send you home. That precedent is critical for the future of this country. Yeah. So in order for you to achieve that overwhelming repudiation, there is a common understanding amongst the population that we must approach this election as a unit. We must be one force against William Ruto. Yeah. I want to give this assurance here because there's people who think that our movement is going to split the vote or anything like that. Yeah. That is not what our intention is. I want to assure anybody who believes that our country cannot afford another 5-year term for William Ruto, we will not be the problem. That's.
Now let us listen into this clip of Kalonzo Musyoka.
The eyes have it, the eyes have it, the eyes have it. Fred Matiang'i, the official spokesperson. Tunamheshimu na mjua ni mtu wa kuchapa kazi. Kwa hivyo sisi kutoka hapa turudi nyuma. Kila mtu hapa youth achukue kura yake. Wangapi wako tayari kuchukua kura kabisa? Na tunaambia shirika la ABC, hii kura ya Matiang'i na Kalonzo na Rigiji na Eugene na wanatembea, hii kura wewe Ruto huwezi kuiba. Hata iba hii kura atashindwa na zaidi ya 5 milioni. Wangapi wako tayari kumpeleka nyumbani na kura yote? Kwa hivyo
And my question today is, do you think the opposition, united one, can defeat William Ruto in 2027, especially if they are united? My answer to that question is simple. The opposition can easily defeat William Ruto in 2027 if they are united. But it will also depend on how William Ruto is going to perform in Mount Kenya. If Mount Kenya will reject William Ruto totally, then William Ruto will go home. But will Mount Kenya reject William Ruto completely?
What is happening today? William Ruto na watu yake wanasema the only way they can have a chance ya kujaribu ni kugawanya hii kura ya Mlima Kenya. Isipogawanyika hata hakuna haja ya kusimama. Kwa sababu hii 7 milioni ikiwekwa ya Ukambani 3 milioni, ya Western 4 milioni, ya Coast 2 milioni, si ameenda nyumbani? So ile kazi yako naye ni vile atagawanya hii mlima.
That's exactly what I want us to analyze in this video. Because William Ruto himself believes that he will defeat these guys by over 3 million votes. I want you guys to listen to this clip here by my friend Kadere. It's a very funny clip, but the message is right inside that clip.
Huyu Kasongo akuwe one term.
Hiyo ni ndoto ya mchana, haiwezekani.
Haiwezekani Manade Omera, wewe lazima uende nyumbani.
Msituambie ni lazima.
No, sisi hatukubembelezi, it is a must.
Haitafanyika.
Come again?
Haitafanyika.
Haitafanyika kwani wewe unaona utashinda?
Kabisa.
So utashinda na kura ngapi?
This election inakuja. We want to win by a margin of between 2 and 3 million. Unanisikia?
Sijakusikia.
Wacha nirudie. This election, the last election, we won by a margin of 200,000. This election, we must win by a margin of 2 to 3 million.
2 million yote.
Yeah?
William Ruto will not win by any 2 million votes.
why is that? Why?
William Ruto will lose by more than 5 million votes. He will lose by.
Hiyo ni ndoto ya mchana mnaota, my friends. Hiyo haiwezekani.
Bwana President William Ruto, Nilisikia kama unasema ya kwamba ati raundi hii kwa sababu Raila yuko utashinda na milioni 3. Mimi nataka kukuambia ni hiyo ni uongo kubwa kabisa.
Kama ni uongo, nani ako ready kuchallenge William hapa?
I want to challenge Mr. Ruto. Na nikupigie hesabu.
Alafu
ndio ujue unaenda nyumbani.
hapana. No. Hapana.
Mr. William, kura Mount Kenya. Hiyo nao sahau.
And that is the truth.
Sio ni ujinga ama nini jameni?
Wana Ruto sisi si wajinga.
Si ni ufala mingi sana.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us dive in. The question is, can the opposition defeat William Ruto in 2027? According to William Ruto and his allies, they will easily defeat the opposition because they believe they've inherited Raila Odinga core support base. And according to the opposition, there is no way William Ruto will defeat them because he has lost his core support base of Mount Kenya. And the reality of the matter is that in 2022, William Ruto's campaign strategy was simple. Tyranny of numbers. And we know the tyranny of numbers. Simply add the Kikuyu votes to Kalenjin votes, you get good numbers. But as things stand today, there's a feeling that the mountain has dumped William Ruto, and Ruto is banking on the support from ODM strongholds, particularly Nyanza, but that Nyanza might not vote for him. And even if that Nyanza were to vote for him, he will not win. And the question now is, did William Ruto commit a mistake by focusing on Nyanza, which was not there in the first place, instead of focusing on retaining the support he got in the last election from Mount Kenya? That's exactly what I want us to analyze. Before we do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, let us dive in. Did Ruto commit a mistake by going for Nyanza instead of returning Mount Kenya? To answer that question, let us begin by looking at game of numbers. You see, if William Ruto will not come up with a good strategy, he's going to lose the war. Why? Let us look at the numbers. Let us begin by parliamentary strength. William Ruto will need a very strong parliament in 2027 for him to achieve his legislative agenda. Remember, William Ruto will not be eligible to contest again, and therefore most MPs will defy him, knowing so well that he will have very few years now to be in power. As we speak, how many counties do we have in Mount Kenya? 10. How many counties do we have in Nyanza? 6. Out of those 6, Matiang'i is going with the 2. So which means in Nyanza, we have 4 counties which Ruto can bank on, and he's losing 10 counties from Mount Kenya. And then you now go to MPs, constituencies. Mount Kenya counties have around, I think there are around 65 constituencies, 64, 65 there. Nyanza, how many? 29. So which means if you go for an election today and the entire Nyanza votes, and then they decide to give William Ruto all the MPs, then Mount Kenya goes to the polls and say they lose 5 seats. That would still mean 60 versus 29. That's terrible. That's terrible. Because there's always the spiral effect. Then, let us look at the number of votes. Because that's what matters. Politics is a game of numbers. How many votes, registered voters, do we have in Mount Kenya as per the last election? 4.1. Yeah, then Mount Kenya has diaspora votes. Nairobi, almost half of it. They have Nakuru, where they control. Then they have a place like Kajiado, where they control. They also have a place like Laikipia. Those ones have 2.8. So even if we were to give these guys half of this, then the opposition, if united, will start from a head start. So which means if Ruto is going to lose the almost 5.5 million votes, and is only assured of getting the registered voters from Nyanza, how many? Are they 2.1? So that's terrible news for Ruto, which means he will have to work extra hard. I know, and you also know, that the votes in Nyanza previously were being suppressed. And right now, they are targeting to register 1.5 new million votes or voters. If they were to succeed in that, then we'll help a bit. But the fact is, Mount Kenya has advantage when it comes to numbers. But it will depend on how they're going to vote. You can't convince me that Mount Kenya has dumped Ruto completely. I would still give Ruto 30% of the mountain. The worst he can get, 30%. So if you were to get 30% of the mountain, then adds to the Luo and the rest, then you'll just be home. But when it comes to optics, the game of numbers, Mount Kenya would have been the softest spot for Ruto. If Ruto wanted to win the presidency, he didn't need to join broad-based with Raila. Because Mount Kenya rebelled, not because of their hate for Ruto, they rebelled because of Raila phobia. Number two, why should be worried is the emergence of Linda Wananchi. Who are the members of Linda Wananchi? The core. And how will Linda Wananchi vote in 2022? The core support of Linda Wananchi, ODM. Ruto was banking on the same ODM. So which means ODM is going to be divided. There are those who are going to stick with Ruto, then there are those who are going to stick with the united opposition. So Ruto is losing in the mountain with the highest number, then hoping to consolidate the entire Luo Nyanza and Luya nation. But again, he's not able. That's going to leave William Ruto in a very terrible political situation ahead of 2027. Because Linda Wananchi will actually take numbers from ODM, numbers which would have otherwise gone to William Ruto. And that's why William Ruto must make one prayer, that Gachagua be given the microphone. Whoever is giving the microphone should continue. Because every time he picks the mic, then he's able to now unite, for example, the Luo nation to support Ruto. Number three, which is my last point, is the winning formation. Now, Ruto leaving Mount Kenya and going for Luo Nyanza would mean the Luo nation, for example, might demand their share, which for me should not happen. For example, I've never believed that the position of the deputy president is that powerful. I saw how Rigathi was just removed. He could do nothing. It means any president can appoint you, then the next day they initiate that process and will be kicked out. But the winning formation here becomes complex in this way. ODM believe they have the numbers. Ruto needs the numbers. So which means ODM party can easily put demands on Ruto. And say, for example, we want the running mate. What will he do? He will do nothing. So the running mate equation is there. The winning formation is there. Because with Mount Kenya, if they are on your side, you just give them the deputy president. Then they demand the minister for finance and this, and they are sorted. You saw the way they voted for William Ruto. Mpaka saizi wanakasirika sana. Yani mtu akikumbuka tu vile alikampenia Ruto, and Lee is talking something like, you see, Ruto can win again. They are mad. People are mad even here. They're very bitter. So the truth is, the winning formation is getting complex. If Ruto were to pick a Luo as his running mate, what will happen? If we were to pick someone from the mountain to be his running mate, what will happen? The fact is, the others will complain. I don't know what you think this might take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.